Okay, welcome to this WP Beginner workshop. If you're just joining us, just let us know where you're coming in from, and also what kind of website you currently have. That's always an interesting one. So whether you've got a personal website, portfolio, e-commerce, service business, just let us know what you've got. Drop that in the chat and say hey. So you can see people are coming in now.
Awesome.
Okay, and whilst everyone's joining as well, I'm just going to start this poll that we put together just to see just to gauge where everyone is with their experience with Google Analytics. Okay, so I'll just start that poll up now. And if you can have a go and just choose an option there, that'd be fantastic. And just let us know where your experience is right now. Lots of people doing that. Thank you, everyone. Okay, and where's everyone coming in from? So Daniel's from the UK. Hi, Daniel. Andre, South Africa. Samuel from UK. Buzz from Tuscan. Is that AZ's Arizona, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Austin, Texas. Bethany.
Hey,
Tash from Johannesburg, also South Africa. Justin from Essex. Karen, Oakland. Brian's got a marketing business website.
Love it.
Barbara from South Carolina. How's the poll doing? So we're currently at 51%. I've used the basics. I'd like to use it a lot more. I think that's a good
Awesome.
fit for
That's
this
great.
one. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that's perfect.
And let's see. Yeah, we won't spend too much longer on this, but if you can answer that poll, it'd be fantastic. Yeah, and also please shout and just say hey, and also let us know where you're joining from. There is a million people here, which is fantastic. I love seeing so many people in the chat. Everyone's up for this workshop, I think. So I think that's a good cue for me to start this workshop. So I'll throw up a slide right now. And I just want to welcome everyone to this WP Beginner workshop. It is about Google Analytics Explore Masterclass. It is all about discovering what's working in 30 minutes. And who am I? Well, if you've joined any of these workshops, you'll know who I am. I'm Ryan. I'm from WP Beginner. I'm a video creator. We've actually been doing, I just looked, we've done 9 of these workshops for WP Beginner. And if you haven't seen any of the previous workshops, after this workshop, jump onto YouTube and check them out as well, because there's lots of content there. But yeah, so we've done 9 of these workshops. We hope that everyone gets value from these workshops and you're able to, think of some questions whilst the workshop's going on, because at the end of this workshop, don't leave. We're going to be answering the Q&A or the questions that people drop in the chat. So I will introduce our guest in a second, but I'll just let everyone know what I'm going to be doing. So I'm not actually going to be running this workshop. Zach will be. I will introduce him. What I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be running things in the chat. So if you do have any questions, jump in the chat, ask some questions, or just say hey in the chat as well. I'll be in there, and then we will do the Q&A afterwards. So we do have a very, very special guest doing this workshop with us. And his name is Zach.
Way too kind, Ryan.
General Manager of MonsterInsights. And Zach, I'm just going to hand it over to you, and you can go for it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan. I appreciate it. All right. Howdy, everyone. Good morning. I saw someone's from Austin, Texas. That's fantastic. That's actually where I'm located. So fellow Texan here. With that, let's just jump in and get this party started. So hopefully I can get this going and start the show. All right, so welcome to today's webinar. Thanks, Ryan, for the introduction. As Ryan said, I'm Zach Kwarta. I'm from Monster Insights, and in the next 30 minutes or so, I'll be able to show you how and what to get out of Google Analytics and how to make it work for you. And so it's going to be a really, hopefully, informative session and hopefully a lot of fun as well. Just a quick ask before we get going here. As Ryan said, we're going to have some time for Q&A, so just mute those notifications, just relax, enjoy the presentation here. There's a lot of things I'm going to cover, and so I just don't want you to miss anything that maybe is a quick insight or a nugget of information you can use. So cool. All right, so let me go ahead and introduce myself a little bit. I'm Zach Kwarta. I'll be leading you through this webinar. You're probably wondering why I'm qualified and kind of where my background is and where I come from. So, as Ryan said, I am the general manager of Monster Insights, but in the past, I'm a growth marketer by trade. I've been successfully growing businesses for over 15 years in some of the most competitive industries. I've worked behind the scenes on some huge brands you've probably heard of, helping them kind of grow and scale their businesses. And working at Monster Insights is such an awesome job because our mission is to really help small businesses grow and compete against the big guys. And so every single day, our team here at Monster Insights really helps thousands of people unlock the power of their websites with the power of analytics. So with that quick introduction out of the way, let's show you what we have in store for you today. So kind of have to go through my intro here, kind of put your brainstorming, dreaming glasses on a little bit. But what if your life would be like if you learned exactly the strategies to see what's working and not on your website? What would 2x the number of sales be? What would that mean for your business? What would that mean for your revenue? What would 2x the number of leads mean for your business, or phone calls coming into your business look like? And could you imagine what would happen if you're ranking number one for your specific keyword or industry? And I'm going to guess, through these awesome glasses that you have on now, through the dreams, would that make things better for you? And I'm going to guess the answer is yes. And I'm also going to, let you know that it's not necessarily difficult to do, and it doesn't have to cost a fortune. But you might sound like, oh, this is kind of like a, sleazy salesman. It sounds too good to be true, and it's not. And if this wasn't the biggest setup ever for what the power of website analytics can do for you, it's website analytics, right? The challenge though with getting website analytics up and running with any type of website is that it's easy to feel like things are working, right? But without the data to back it up, it might not be. And so that's what properly setting up website analytics can do for you. And unfortunately, it's a little difficult to get up and running, but we'll cover through that in a little bit here. And when you have this data, right, you understand what's working, what's not with your website. That's where you can focus. That's where you can double down on your efforts and your energies and start pulling out insights to help you grow and scale. And you don't have to take my word for it. I always like throwing this slide up here. Take a look at what some of these big companies have said about using website analytics and how it can impact your business. McKinsey says that companies using analytics have 126% profit over those that don't. That's McKinsey, a huge company, obviously. Minted, a huge powerhouse website, had 400% year-over-year growth thanks to website analytics. MIT, which is filled with a whole bunch of really smart people, they say that top organizations that use analytics are 5 times more higher performers than those that do not. So, if website analytics is the golden ticket to unlocking all these successes, all these success stories, why isn't everyone using it and using it properly? Well, the first secret I want to mention out here, and this is kind of the beginning and what we're going with the workshop today, is that Google Analytics 4 is actually, really powerful, but it's also really complicated to set up. It's really designed for, in my opinion, professional marketers or even data scientists who really understand the mechanics behind website analysts and capturing and measurements. And even with that, those types of folks, GA4 still has a steep learning curve. And unless you're familiar with the terms like dimensions and metrics and segments, Google Analytics 4 is hard. In short, Google Analytics, it really wasn't designed for folks, like you or me. It was designed for power users who come from big companies that spend millions of dollars analyzing their website, driving traffic, sending ads. And I know this because that's the world I came from. I came from big companies that used analytics to do a lot of this stuff. The other secret why analytics sometimes isn't used as much is if you're not going to grow. I'm sorry, it's a little early here and my coffee hasn't kicked in yet. Your website and business aren't going to grow unless you're properly measuring how to track your website, right? If you're not tracking properly what matters, you're not going to be able to improve and grow your site. And while there have been improvements over the years to make things easier to track and adding tagging and everything else, it still requires a developer generally to properly code your website. And a proper development, it's not just throwing a tag on and saying, here's your page views. It's all the things now, like, looking at cart purchases, looking at your sales performance, looking at your funnels. All of this stuff, it takes a lot of engineering effort, regardless of your size, to make sure it's set up properly. The other reason why analytics can sometimes be difficult, and what you need to do is once find your platform, in this case Google Analytics 4, and you have it set up properly, tracking and tagging and putting all that data into Google Analytics 4, you need to then monitor your website's performance, right? You don't want to put it in there. Unlike those commercials from the early 90s, it's not the, set it and forget it, right? You need to regularly view and monitor your website's performance to quickly see what's working and what's not. And your business, this the explanation for this is pretty simple. Your business isn't static, nor is your website. Things are always changing. Certain things or campaigns that suddenly stop working all of a sudden. Google might make a new change and suddenly you're getting a whole bunch more traffic to your website. You don't know why. And I just want to sum up and say that's kind of the power of having website analytics, right? Once it's set up, you can create the insights and dive in deeper through that, right? You can figure out once you have all that data how to leverage it, and that's what we're going to be talking about a lot today. Is how do you take this data and make sense of it? And so, of course, the setup here, is that Monster Insights makes a lot of this stuff really easy. We harness the power of Google Analytics so that your site will never slow down, no matter how popular or customized it gets. But we also blend that with making Google Analytics very easy for everyone to use. We designed Monster Insights to get up and running in less than 5 minutes with no coding or developers needed. And we also have a lot of great, beautiful reporting built in. So you can easily start getting some of these insights and learning how to grow your website without needing that degree in data analysis. And it's all within your WordPress dashboard, which is perfect for this audience here since everyone is from WordPress beginner. So I'd love to show you how this works. But first, let me go ahead and show you the Google Analytics side of things. And I'll show you just some basic reports. So, folks aren't necessarily using Monster Insights, or maybe you're power users. I saw we had a whole bunch of folks here that have a little bit of insights and knowledge into Google Analytics, but maybe want some more understanding of how to leverage it. I'd like to show you through how to use Google Analytics. So let me go ahead and pause the slides here, and hopefully, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. Great. Okay, wonderful. So I'm inside of a sample analytics account right now. This actually is Google Analytics has a merchandise store. And so this allows us to see what a real store looks like and how it would appear in Google Analytics with their real data. And when you log into GA4, you're going to pretty much see a similar screen to this, where it can be very, very overwhelming. And this is what we hope to uncover today. So I'm just going to go through some key reports that I look at and kind of show you how to navigate Google Analytics 4 in here and make some sense out of this data. So the interface is a little funky. In order to view a lot of your reports, you actually hover over here, and then you see here you have a whole bunch, only 4 options or so. So if I click on reports, it's going to bring us to another full action-packed screen with a lot of widgets and a lot of dashboard items here. As you can see, there's a lot going on, but it's hard to tell what some of this stuff means, right? If you're not familiar with the terminology like first user primary channel group, ooh, that's a tongue twister. That's a channel breakdown. And so if you're not familiar with these terms, as I was mentioning before, it can be a little cumbersome and complex. But let's go ahead and dive into a few of these here. So what I'll typically look at, and Google Analytics encapsulates this really well. Right, they have a life cycle. So they have acquisition, which essentially means where are your visitors coming from, engagement, what are your visitors doing on your website, and then monetization, obviously, what kind of sales are they making or leads are they creating or that type of thing. So that's the buckets that they have down in here. That's where we'll focus on today for a few moments. I do want to show real quick the real-time overview. People love this chart. Right now, it looks really pretty because there's a lot of stuff happening on this website. We have a lot of visitors right now, it looks like from the US on this website. A lot of y'all probably have sites that have 1 or 2 visitors at a time, maybe less than that. So a chart like this, even though it looks really cool, is not going to be extremely helpful for you unless you're running a promotion maybe and have a whole bunch of people on your site at the same time. But it is pretty. But I just wanted to show you this, that, hey, this is a really cool thing to see if your analytics are working on the fly. All right, let's jump in now to a couple key reports, and I'll show you how to use Google Analytics interface, a little bit more power usery. So if I click on acquisition here, I'm actually going to skip overview and just go into traffic acquisition. And so for me, this is essentially where users are coming from before they hit your website. And so the way to read this report here is, let's skip over this chart. We can see here we have essentially our rows. And for a little bit of foreshadowing in the future, these will be called dimensions in the future. Our dimension here is our channel group. And you can see here, in this case, sorry, there we go. The default selection time here is for the last 28 days. You can see here, over the last 28 days, in total, this store has received 109,000 sessions, of which 38,000 were engaged. You can keep going down here and scrolling in and seeing more and more activity. So we have event counts here. Events are not purchases. That's very important to remember. We have key events here, which we will select and show you. A purchase event. There we go. So what I just did here, just as a quick little insight, is the key events here. This site is tagging up specifically purchase events, add to cart, and view to items. So whoever set up this website decided that these were the key events they wanted to look at. And in this case, I wanted to see how many purchases I got. And so here, pretty simple, right? So from a direct or organic, 536 sales, 167 sales. You keep going here, there's a little bit, oh, there we go. You can see here, it starts pulling. It's a little clunky though. You can kind of navigate here. You can also change your dimension right here. So I'm going to click on this. And maybe I want to see my source and mediums. So if I'm using campaign source and mediums for promotions, emails, you can see here I can filter it. I can also literally click and sort based upon engaged sessions. You can go the other way. There we go. So there's a lot of power in here in being able to drill down and kind of go deeper. There are some options here as well. So if I go over here into this toolbar, I can see here I can do comparisons. So I can look at different types of traffics or different types of segments. I can also start getting some insights here. They're starting to roll out some AI features, which is kind of nice. But that's essentially the basic crux of how to navigate things. So in this case here, to sum up what all this data shows, is over the last 28 days, we have had 966 sales total. And the vast majority, 55%, have been from people essentially typing in the URL directly, 536 sales. That's how to read this report. So you can see here, there's a lot of information. We can dig in deeper, but at the onset, this is just the crux of how to read these reports. So number one, acquisition. How are people finding your websites? I would check out this traffic acquisition report. All right, moving along here. I don't want to spend too much time because there's a lot going on here. Engagement. Okay, so events. Google Analytics essentially fires events for everything, right? And so you can see here, we're firing an event for page view. We're firing an event for a session start, meaning someone comes to your website and starts interacting with it. They view a promotion. There's a whole bunch of these events here. I'll be honest, this probably for a lot of y'all is not crazy helpful because a page view is a page view, but you're not necessarily sure what page view that is, which we'll show here in a second. Purchases will be really important, but as you can see here, it doesn't even break the top 10 because we have a whole bunch of these other events happening. So again, for me, the way I read this report specifically is I'll just look at this and do a comparison. So again, last 28 days, maybe I'll compare it against the previous 28 days. Hit apply. In this case here, I'll just get a pulse check on what's happening with my website, right? So my page views month over month, we're down about 15%, which, it is what it is for the specific store. Maybe I'm looking at the session starts, so maybe I launched a new campaign or something. And this might be where I check this out. Where the real value for me is in this engagement section is the pages and screens, and then subsequently the landing page report. All right, so let me take off this comparison here because it's going to be a little confusing. Great. Okay, so pages and screens is essentially your page views broken down, right? So in this case here, the backslash is going to be our home page or index page. And we have the number of views here along with the number of active users. And this, for the most part, should always be smaller than your number of views, right? Your active users are going to be going through and clicking and maybe they hit the home page twice or 3 times. So you should always expect to see this active users be a little bit smaller or much smaller than your views.
Zach,
see here, yes.
Can I ask you to can you make that bigger by any chance?
Oh my goodness, sure. Let me see if I can zoom in here. Does that help?
Yeah, that should be better.
All right, sorry. Yeah, I know that screen share is sometimes a little funky. Is that better?
Yeah, that looks a bit better.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that,
you.
y'all. Yeah, thank you. Great. So yeah, you can see here we have our pages. We can do sorting in here, so I can actually do a search. So maybe I'll just use this example here. I want to see just specifically, looks like clearance. That could be a fun one, right? So if I have multiple pages with clearance, I can enter that in here, and it will filter it all out for all these pages. So this is very helpful to see what pages people are interacting with, who's doing what. You can see here you have your active engagement time. You can see some big differences. So in this case here, this specific page, we have 28 seconds of users on this overall page. To me, that's a lot of time on the clearance page. So clearly something's working there, right? So some cool stuff we can do there. The other report, and hopefully this doesn't, there we go. The other important report here before I go into monetization is just the landing pages. So this is specifically the first page that people see when they visit your website. And so if you're running any sort of advertising, or maybe you're focusing on some keyword optimization or SEO, or maybe social campaigns, this report is incredibly helpful. It's to show you exactly the performance of each individual landing page. My suspicion is for most of y'all, your homepage is going to be very similar to this, where it's going to be your first one. Most folks go to your homepage. That's just the nature of the beast. But you can see here, and now it's a little, let me see if I can tweak that. There we go. You can see here, what's really powerful is we have our key events, but then we also have revenue, right? So now we can see of the people hitting the homepage, we've had, in this case, let me go purchases again. I only want the purchases. All right, so we've had 523 purchases in the last 28 days from people that first started on our homepage, and they generated $69,000 in revenue, which is 50% of our 146. So see how I kind of read that? You kind of have to make that story make sense. It kind of all goes together. But that's general. That's how you read these reports, and you can dig in here further, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment here. But let me go ahead and go to my last section that I wanted to show y'all. And that's a monetization. Okay. So again, you'll notice I'm skipping over the overviews because it's a lot of eye candy. It doesn't necessarily help us. All right, let me minimize that. Okay. So in this case here, we have e-commerce purchases. So for all y'all that are running an e-commerce store, whether that's through WooCommerce, digital downloads, or maybe MemberPress, all these things should start popping in here if you're properly using analytics, right, and properly have it set up. So in this case here, the Google store has a whole bunch of Google Providence pullover hoodies, and they've had 63 purchases in the last 28 days. So you get a quick overview of what's happening. Items viewed is essentially how many times someone looked at this on the website, how many times it was added to the cart. And you can start putting together the story here by looking at, okay, in this case, we had 218 people added to the cart, and we had 43 items purchased. So you can start putting together some of these conversion rates if you want to. And then last but not least, and sorry, that's the gist of the e-commerce stuff. I'll show you a whole bunch more in a few moments. But let me show you one more quick section here that I really like pulling out GA for, which is super duper helpful. This one, I will actually go to the overview report for user attributes. So this one is really powerful for understanding more about how your users are using your website, where they're coming from. And so in this case, you can see a breakdown by the country, which is crazy helpful, especially if you're an international provider, you're selling stuff across the world. It's really powerful to see this. We also can see the city breakdowns, again, really, really great. And then depending on the size of your site, you're going to start getting some of the interest types and demographic information. So this is all from Google Analytics, and it's part of their whole Google Tag ecosystem, and they're essentially profiling people that are logged in and interacting and all that good stuff. So this is really, really powerful for users. Again, you have to have a decent number of traffic. I forget the number, but what they're trying to do is show you some samples, right? They're showing you some samples of the types of users on your website. And so you can drill down here. I don't need to drill down in the genders, but maybe I want to drill down here into interests, so I can click on this. And this is going to give me a whole bunch of insights over the course of time and give us even more. So right now we have 10. I can go, I think they have a whole bunch more. There we go. You can see here. And so you can use this to create content that resonates with your users. You can make sure that who is purchasing from you kind of fits in your mold, or maybe there's some interests that you've never even thought of that are actually really resonating and kind of have a really good match with your website. So that's always kind of a pro tip that I use here. Again, you need a good number of traffic though, so you don't get sample sized. And then last but not least here is this tech. And so this to me as a performance marketer in my past is crazy powerful as well. This is where I can see what types of devices users are coming from. There's a huge, everyone is using their phones for everything these days. And everyone also is still using their laptops and their desktops. And so what you can do here is to start looking to see where are users, what types of devices are they using? And then you can start breaking this down more in a second where you can see what it actually means for your sales. You see I have screen resolutions. So you can make sure that your website loads properly, based upon what type of screen resolution your customers have. There's a lot of great insights here. We can kind of just keep going further and further, digging in further and getting some more insights out of this. All right, so that's kind of the overview. Those are the top 3 reports or 4 reports that I look at, just in a recap here. I typically will look at traffic acquisition to see where my users are coming from. I'll typically look at the events here in the engagement section just to see, get a pulse check, what's happening, do some comparisons, make sure that everything looks okay. My pages and screens will tell me, again, what pages and screens my users are looking at. Landing pages, critically important to see which ones are impacting sales and conversions and leads. And then the e-commerce purchases is what people are actually searching for. All right, very quickly here, I'll show you some of the advanced power, and then I'll show you kind of the easy step here. So I clicked over here on Explore, which is one of the top level menu items, and they have this whole exploration tab. You can see there's a whole bunch of people here. I have a whole bunch as well, just from trying this out. But for anyone that is familiar with pivot tables and pivot charts, you will love this. For everyone that doesn't know what that is or is scared, this might be a little scary. So let me show you how to make this really easy peasy, and I'll show you some insights here. So if you're a power user and maybe you want to see, let's use the example of what types of devices my users are purchasing from. So you're going to create essentially a report here. And segments is the users that we want. So in this case, I'm going to just leave it alone. Dimensions, I'm going to pick my device. So think of dimensions as kind of like the row that you want values to be on reported on. So in this case here, I'm going to go device type. Oops, see? I'll just do devices. There we go. It gives us a whole bunch of stuff here. If you can hover over this and you'll get a tooltip. I think it might not be loading just because my screen is zoomed in so much here. But I'm going to go ahead and grab, no, there we go. There we go. See, it worked. Device category. And so this will break it down for us between the desktop, mobile, and tablet. Okay, so I'm going to click this and I'm going to drag it over to rows. They color coded it, which makes it nice. All right. And then what do I want to see from this device category? How do I want to break this down? And so in this case, I'm going to break down transactions, okay, sales. So I'm going to click on this. And you know what? Maybe let's also add in something else like purchase revenue, right? I want to see how much revenue each device made. So I'm going to go down here to purchase revenue and confirm. Okay. And so now I can just double click on these. You can see here I'm actually getting some insights. All right. So, and by the way, the timeline here, or the time frame again, is the last 28 days. You can select this, which makes, they've actually done a lot of cool stuff in here. So maybe want to see the last 30 days, right? Last month. All right. So you can see here over the last 30 days in this case now, I've had almost 1055 transactions, that same $156,000. You can see here where the revenue breakdown, right? So this is really, really telling because now what I can do is also look at this. So let me add in sessions. So what I like about GA4 is if you know what you're looking for and you kind of get a feeling for what the dimensions you have, again, the types of things you want to report on, you can drag, drop, get insights, but it's definitely a learning process. There's definitely a learning curve, right? So here, this is what's really interesting to me, right? So I had 65,000 users from my mobile devices, but only 94 purchases. Compare that to 50,000 users on desktop and almost 1,000 purchases. So clearly, if I'm looking for ways to optimize my website, I might start here and say, where and how are mobile users interacting with my website? And what types of things are they seeing or not seeing that I can improve? So very, very powerful stuff here. Let's keep going here. We can keep stacking here, right? So the other one that I love is my traffic sources. So in this case, it's called session default channel group. I know it's a tongue twister. I'm going to go ahead and confirm this. And then what I'm going to do here is just to make this kind of stackable is I'm going to grab this and put it above the device category. So now what I can see, and I know there's a lot to take in here, but now what I can see is from the desktop users who are typing in my website directly, the transactions, or maybe people in this case coming in on the desktop devices from organic search, the transactions and sessions. So you can start putting together a story. You can take off the device category if you want, right? So now I see that, okay, out of my organic search, 185 transactions have occurred. Again, you can start dragging, dropping, tweaking, customizing things. Super powerful. A lot to take in. And that's kind of what I want to segue into now is the Monster Insights way, right? So as you can see here, a lot to take in, a lot to go through. I just want to show you comparison Monster Insights. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over here and share this tab. And okay, I think this might be, let me just see how it appears. Okay. Ryan, is this okay in screen size for you? Can you see this okay? I can't tell on my end here.
Yeah, I think that looks okay. I mean, if
Okay.
anyone isn't seeing it in, they're struggling to see it, the numbers and stuff like that, or anything, just anyone that's struggling, just let us know in the chat,
Perfect.
and I can just prompt Zach to zoom in.
Awesome. Thank you,
Cool.
Ryan. Okay, so this is one of our demo sites, so it's going to look a little funky. There might be a few things in here that are a little
Okay,
weird.
sorry,
Yeah,
Zach.
yeah,
They're
no
saying,
worries.
can you zoom in, please?
Okay, all right. Let me zoom in here. We'll get big. All right. Hopefully that
Maybe a
works.
bit smaller than that.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll find
Yeah.
a good balance here. All right, perfect.
Cool.
All right, so this site here, it probably looks familiar to a lot of y'all that using WordPress. This is essentially the overview screen. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go down to the Monster Insights reports. And again, this is zoomed in quite a bit, so it's stacking a little funky. But let me go ahead and click on reports. And we have a whole bunch of demo data in here. So it's gonna be a little weird, but it's to show you the kind of the power of Monster Insights and what we can do. So in here on your overview report, if you remember how many kind of navigation items I had to go through and how much finagling I had to do, I can really quickly here just get my sessions. And again, this is demo, so it's showing zeros. But I can get my sessions, my page views, my total users, my revenue and sales, and I can also grab all of these important metrics over here. So very powerful, right? I don't have to be a report genius to create these things. I can add bounce rate. And I'll actually see it here, some sample data. It'll take a little while to load in. I also have here stats at a glance, so I can just see what's happening over time. And then I have these scorecard metrics down here. Again, really quick to show you specifically actionable insights you can take, right? So right now in the sample data, I have 75,000 sessions, which is down 6% over the previous 30 days. But my page views are only down 3%. So what that tells me is my engagement is actually higher this current month than the previous month. I have less visitors, but more page views. My session duration, down just a little bit. My bounce rate here, no change, it's still loading in. My new returning visitors, right? This I can tell you right now is really hard to grab out of GA4. Here, you can just view it super quickly. And we have our device breakdowns. Top 10 countries, all right here. Top 10 referrals, so I can see where my traffic is coming from and who I should talk to create partnerships. And the power of Monster Insights here, I'm not going to click this button because it's not going to work for me right now in my demo mode. But when we put everything into Google Analytics properly. So if you're like, hey, I need some more insights, I want to see what's happening, I want to actually see what this looks like inside Google Analytics 4, I can just click this button, and it'll take me right over to Google Analytics, specifically on this report, and I can start navigating and adding all those insights. Same here with referral sources. So that's the power of Monster Insights, is because we're using Google Analytics 4 as sort of the data engine, we're putting everything in there. So if you want to pull out insights, if you want to be the power user and create those pivot charts and pivot reports, you can do so, but you don't have to. That's the great thing here. Top posts and pages, right? So I have my page here and my number of views. Really quick, very easy. Again, we put the power of this button so you can dig in further if you would like. So immediately on the overview screen here, you can see we get a whole bunch of really great insights without having to do a whole bunch. But it doesn't stop there, right? This is just our overview. So across the top here, you can kind of think about this as the user journey, right? So traffic is where are people coming from? Publishers is going to have the content, the engagement, what people are doing on your website. And then we have e-commerce here, which will be your store's performance. So let me just go quickly through here. Let me go to landing page details. Again, I love my landing pages. I love to see what's happening when people go to my website. So into traffic, landing pages, I have my chart here. And then I have all these key metrics that I need right away. So again, this is a little funky just because of the zooming right now. But I can get my sessions, engaged sessions. I can do date comparisons if I want, just like in Google Analytics. Take a little moment. You can see here, again, this is a little funky just because of the zooming in. If I zoom out, it'll be properly lined. But you can see here, I can get all these insights without having to do a darn thing, without having to go through all those different reports, dragging and dropping and finagling it. I have my filter options here as well, which makes it nice and easy. And again, we list out every single page here. So you can get what you need and sort it that way. If I go over here to technology, again, performance marketers is my type of thing. I love this thing. Quick, easy insights, right? Desktop, mobile, tablet, to the device breakdowns and browser breakdowns. Really quick, very easy. I can do comparisons. If I go over to source and media, for everyone that's using those UTM parameters, let me go and get out of here. For everyone that's using UTM parameters on your marketing campaigns, your emails, your ad campaigns, you can get it all right here, right? So very quickly, very easily, I can see specifically what's working and what's not. Have my conversion rates, have my revenue, all on one screen. Very powerful, very easy, no hoops to jump through. And let me do one more here, our social report. So for anyone running social media, we actually just pull this in automatically. So now there's no more guesswork. You can see specifically what network is driving what kind of sales, what types of conversions, and who's engaging with what, right? It's super powerful, super easy. I just love it. We show you the stats that matter. Okay, for publishers now, this pages report. Again, these are not landing pages. These are the overall page views on your website. Sample data, so this looks a little funky, right? We have some weird things in here. We can see page view sessions, new sessions, and bounce rate. Super easy, super powerful. If you see maybe a specific page has a really high or really low bounce rate, that's a really good indicator that something is not working or something is working very well. Search Console. So I didn't talk about this, but there is an integration with Google Search Console in Google Analytics 4. It's a little funky, hard to use. We make it really easy here. So again, just bring simplicity front and forefront. So here's your search terms, clicks, impressions, CTR, and average position. I can change my dates if I want to see what's working or not over the course of time. All right, e-commerce. So I want to spend some time here because this is, I think, where a lot of people are going to see the power of Monster Insights and kind of how to use analytics properly. All right, so on the overview report here, I'm going to have my scorecards, right? So I can look at my conversion rates, my transactions revenue, and then my average order value. Very quick, very easy. Hopefully these are all green. In this case here, this one's down a little bit, but hopefully these are all green. And again, you can see the product breakdown. So in this case, I'm selling Monster Insights, I'm selling WP Forms, so on and so forth. And I can see my percent of sales, my total revenue, so on and so forth. This button here, again, will take you right to GA4. So if you want to get more insights and go farther, you can. I also have my conversion sources. So this is specifically where my traffic came from and how it converted from my referrals. So again, if you have an affiliate relationship with someone or partnerships, you can get these opportunities set up really front and center. You can see who's driving you, what types of traffic, and how much money you're making from it. And then down here at the bottom, we actually have some additional little scorecard metrics. So if you're looking at how to customize, tweak your website, total add to cart, how many people are pushing that button to add to cart, how many people are removing it from cart. If there's huge changes here and you're making changes to your website, you can actually see what's happening pretty easily. All right, and then I'll go here and let me go to my coupons report. Very simple. I have a coupon, I can see how much money it's driving me. Again, as you'll see here, everything has a really similar look and feel. We have done that by design to keep things very simple. Our new report that we just launched a couple months ago is our cart abandonment report. So this is a really great report to show you perhaps specific products that people are removing from their cart, or they have added in their cart and they left. And so we show you here where there's potential insights, right? So in this case, Monster Insights, it was going to be at $210 in revenue, but 97% of people left it out of their cart, and actually 9% of people just abandoned the checkout entirely, right? So you can start making some really cool insights and directional paths to take with certain products. Maybe people are adding it and they're removing it, and that gives you a really clear indication that, hey, we need to fix something. Dimensions, I'm not going to go into this. This is a really powerful tool here. It'll help you break down kind of the authors, logged in, everything else. Forms, for all of our people that have contact forms, everything else. You can see here we actually have impressions and conversions. We have download guides, so on and so forth. You can see here we really are making this nice and simple for users to get that conversion data, get those insights out of Google Analytics without having to go through a bunch of hoops. I can also break this down really powerfully by campaign. So maybe I have a lead form from my social media network. I can actually see my impressions and conversions on that form. So I can see maybe that form is too complicated or too easy, which is really powerful. All right. Last but not least here, I'll go through media because I know we're running a little over and I want to give plenty of time for Q&A. We actually have a media tracking as well. So anyone that has video on their website, that's through Vimeo or YouTube, or it's just a native hosted video on WordPress, we actually will show you your video performance. So you can see what's working, what's not, how many people are completing the video, and how far along they actually watched it. So a whole bunch of really great stuff in here. I've only scratched the surface of Monster Insights. But what I'm trying to show and convey here is that there's a whole bunch of insights you can get. There's a whole bunch of features in here that you can get without having to be, a data scientist within Google Analytics. So it's a really powerful tool. And with that, let me jump back over into here. I think I have, let's see here. I have one more slide. Let me see. Let's see what happened. Uh-oh, Ryan, I think it's there we go. There we go. Sorry. There we go. All right. So there we go. Sorry. I had a fun little slide there. So you did it. You stuck with me. You listened. So thank you for that. I hope that you got some good
I don't
insights
think
out of it.
I don't. Does everyone see the slide? I don't think anyone sees the slide though, Zach.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, this webinar jam. It's a little. There we go. All right, there we go. There's the fun gift. There we go. Hello. You did it. So thank you for sticking around here. So I do appreciate it, and I do want to really share that. Hey, Monster Insights is really powerful. So thanks for sticking around. I definitely want to give a good incentive here. So you can try all these features. I'm not going to push a hard sale here. If you use this code WP Webinar at checkout on Monster Insights, you'll save 65%. Comes with a 14-day money-back guarantee. So I highly encourage you, check it out, install Monster Insights on your site, see what insights you can get, and it really kind of to make insights really powerful for you to get good use, get more engagement, get more sales from your website. It's really a really powerful tool to do that. All right, and with that, now I think we're ready for Q&A, Ryan. I think we did it.
Yeah, well done, Zach. Yeah, no, there's a lot of information there, and I like how you've compared what you get in GA4, which can be quite a little bit overcomplicated. I mean, I really do prefer looking at my Monster Insights dashboard within my WordPress sites because I feel like it breaks it down a little bit easier and makes everything a little bit easier to find as well. You've done a really good job of breaking that down, and yeah, like you said, this could easily be a 2-hour workshop, if we were
Yes.
digging right into Google Analytics 4. And, people say in the chat, if you want something that's a lot more in depth in Google Analytics 4 and comparisons and things, because I know Zach has actually dropped a lot of nuggets that a lot of people really like. And there's a lot of people that are responding in the chat that they like certain parts that you do. And there are probably going to be a bunch of people that rewatch this video again and again and again just to go over a few bits. So yeah, so if you'd like that kind of stuff, you can drop it in the chat and we'll consider, that. But, for this workshop and what you've covered, Zach, I think that was really great. And that offer on screen, you don't do that many offers in terms of Monster Insights, Zach. So this is a really good chance for people to take a look at that and have a look. And with that, we'll jump over into Q&A. There are a lot of questions, so I'll get through this. And also, what I like about these questions, there are some that are really basic and beginner questions, which I think are really important to answer here as well, because we're covering quite a lot when we talk about analytics and our sites, but also there are some more advanced questions in here. So we'll get into those things as well. So the first question that I'm going to pull up is basically what's Pat has asked, I think this is when you were on the Google Analytics side of things anyway, what is the difference between a session and an engaged session?
Definitely. So a session and engaged session, those are the two breakdowns that Google Analytics will use. A session is going to be when users essentially hit your website and they don't have to necessarily take any activity. An engaged session is when a user does a certain number of activities. I believe, please don't, I believe an engaged session specifically, and you can tweak some of these settings, but it's just if they move on the page, they do some interactivity, that will count as an engaged session. Versus someone who's hitting your website and maybe bouncing right away. There's also some toggles in there that you can tweak some of those things to say, hey, this is what I consider an engaged session within the admin section of Google Analytics 4. I will say, just as a marketer, in the past, the engaged sessions is actually what you want to be looking at probably more than the sessions, because those are the people actually interacting, right? Those aren't
Yeah,
bots. Those aren't people just bouncing. Those are the people actually interacting with their website. So as you're going through and looking at reports, I would look at the engaged sessions very carefully to make a lot of your decisions off of.
that makes sense. Well, thanks for that. Next is from John. What are the steps necessary to set up Google Analytics on my site?
Yeah. All right. Great question. So if you're using WordPress, we make this really, really, really easy. Just install Monster Insights. And what we'll do is we'll automatically connect it, set up all the tags, set up all the tracking automatically with a button click. That's the easiest way. That's the biggest, best way to do it, I think, because we set up everything properly from the start. If you're not using Monster Insights, so say you wanted to go through it manually, there's a whole bunch. You get to essentially put in a tag through your website, through some sort of plugin. You could use WP Code or something like that.
Yep.
And then on the site itself, if you want to tag up like purchases and events and everything else, candidly, you're probably going to have to hire a developer, a custom developer that really knows what's going on. It used to be where you could just kind of put one tag on the site and you're good to go. Unfortunately, now to get a lot of these great insights properly, it does require a lot of custom setup and configuration.
And people can do that with the light version of Monster Insights as well, can't
Correct.
they? Get it connected
Correct.
up, test everything out a little bit, see how it
Exactly.
works. That's a good first
Exactly.
step in terms of, and I suppose that's why you guys did that as well, really, in terms of making it accessible to everyone to see and connect up to.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. We're fighting for the small guys here, right? We're fighting for the success of the small guys. And so, I don't like going through code and looking through website technology and everything else. I just want something that works. We have the easy button, and that's why we truly built Master Insights to make it easy and powerful. It's our tagline.
And okay, so the next one is okay. So there's from Deb. She said, "I'm displaying engagement and then pages and screens, but I'm not seeing event count in key events. Is there some difference there in terms of Google Analytics? Do you think?"
It could be. I don't know. Are you looking at a specific report inside GA4 or not? But essentially, a key event you have to set up. So key events, by default, are going to have things like purchase. When you set up Google Analytics, that's just one of the key events they set up. What you can do is inside the Google admin dashboard, any event that's coming in, you can mark it as a key event. And so that way, maybe you have a page view you actually do want to have as a key event or a lead form or something else like that. So you can toggle those. Specifically why they might not be showing up or something of that nature could be the way it's just set up. If it's through Monster Insights, we'll be happy to take a look at it and see. But again, this is kind of the simplicity of MI, right? Just set up and it just hopefully should work.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Frankie asks, is Google Analytics also including someone who is working on the website in their count of page views?
Yes, so that's actually a really great question. With Monster Insights, so what we've done is if you're logged in, we actually do not send that traffic data over to Monster Insights, or I'm sorry, to Google Analytics, so it doesn't skew your data. So if you're logged in, we essentially say, nope, we don't want that to be tracking in. We don't want to muddle the metrics, which is, in my opinion, kind of the way to do it. You don't want to be messing up all your conversion rates and everything else. However, if you're doing it manually, if you just stick in the Google Analytics tag, if you don't have any of that configuration set up, all of that activity will be happening, be sent over to Google Analytics, and yeah, that'll go against into your stats.
Cool. Yeah. So with Monster Insights, basically, you don't have to do that setup. It's already done for you. But if not, you'll have to go in, do the manual setup yourself,
Exactly.
and make sure that
Triggers and actions and all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And that's answered Jodie's question as well, which is below, and that's fantastic. So Kerry said, can Google Analytics be connected to multiple websites at once?
Yes. Yes, actually it can be. So what you can do is you have there's organizations inside Google Analytics. So when you create a new property, which is essentially a property could be any website. So it could be, site one, site two, site three. You can connect those within your organization. So what you need to do is figure out what your top level organization is. And then within the admin area, you can actually create new properties through there which will all bubble up into one key thing. Now, in terms of reporting across all of them, that one you really can't do. It'd still be reporting on the property level. So you can't have like an overview of, hey,
Yeah.
I have 10 sites, how are they all performing? It doesn't work that way. From an organizational standpoint, they'd be all in that one org,
Yeah.
but not individually able to be reported like as a grouping. So you still break down separate property by property.
So you still have to go into them, don't you?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, cool. Okay, and Deb asked the question, how did you get to variables? I think that was in GA4.
How to get to variables? I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay, we'll move on. Deb, if you want
Yeah,
to
we can follow
clarify.
up. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. I'm happy to
Deb,
follow up.
Deb, if you clarify in the Q&A what you meant by that, then we can ask Zach the question. I think the name is Riaz. Can I get past data even though I might have installed Google Analytics recently?
Yes. So past data, no.
Yeah.
So essentially, until you put the tracking on there, there's no way to kind of store all that information. So you need to have the tag on there to kind of feed the machine, if you will. You can go back. So just as a heads up, Google Analytics 4, here's a pro tip. Google Analytics 4 has data retention policies. I know it's a fancy word, but basically, how long are they keeping the data inside? There's an option, I believe it's between 14 months and 3 months or 2 months. I would highly recommend go into your settings inside GA4, and we actually do this automatically for Monster Insights, but set that date range to 14 months. That way you have historical data. So as soon as you get it in, it doesn't go away after a couple of months. That way you can do year-over-year analysis and comparisons.
Oh, that's a really good tip. Yeah, nice one. That was really good. And then I think Molly's got quite an in-depth question here, so I'll give it a go. Give it a shot reading it out. Right. We've been running Google Ads for a few clients and found that GA4 stopped traffic all in the aid traffic. It either dropped off completely or significantly reduced, but we could see in Google Ads interface that they were getting clicks to the website. The tracking is all set up. What could be the reason for this?
Yeah, so without seeing the site, unfortunately, I can't dig in. Generally, so it is important to note that Google Analytics data, as you're seeing, Google Analytics data is different than Google Ads data. So typically, if they don't match, again, I don't know the particulars of this, but typically, if they don't match, generally it's something happening with your gclid ID or the way you're passing in traffic. For some reason, that might not being reported back into Google Analytics to make that sync. Again, without looking at specifics, I couldn't tell you. I would, if you're a Monster Insights user, we can dig in for you. If you're not, then I would check out some marketplaces, some, the hire marketers, that type of thing. There's a lot of services out there that can help you with that specifically.
And you made a really good point there, Zach. Not a lot of people know this, but if you are connected to or you do use a platform or a plugin that is supported by a fantastic team, just like Monster Insights, you guys go above and beyond for your customers, don't you, in terms of helping them out with things. So this is
Definitely.
a really important point that if you do jump on board and use Monster Insights on your site, there are additional benefits of using a team that are fully experienced, that have a lot of knowledge about these things in terms of what they've seen on other people's websites and helped out with, right?
Yeah, what's the commercial from the insurance company? We've seen a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two, something like that. Yeah. So I mean, Monster Insights have used over 3 million websites, so we've pretty much seen and experienced everything at this point now. So yeah, we're happy to dig in. Specifically, we do have a PPC tracking add-on. So the reason why this comes to mind is we actually will set up and properly send in conversion data with Monster Insights PPC. So if you are running Google Ads and you're not taking advantage of that, it's a no-code way to make sure it's working. Again, part of Monster Insights, we try to keep things super simple. But yeah, we've seen a thing or two, so we can definitely help out as a Monster Insights customer.
Cool. And someone that's called American basically said there is a lot of this session geared towards e-commerce, and this is a really good question actually. But what about companies who use their site simply to showcase products or don't sell online? Is there much data we can use for marketing if we aren't selling online?
Definitely. So I glanced over it a little bit, but publisher. So kind of in my world, I consider a publisher someone in that exact case, right? So yeah, a certain website, a certain data source, that has a really low to share information or sell something. There's definitely a different set of use cases, and whatever your metric is, whatever your North Star is for your website, you can put in analytics and data towards that to drive towards that North Star. So for publishers, to me, engagement time, right? I want people coming to my website. I want to see how long and how much they're interacting with my content. And so for me, not e-commerce wise, but from an engagement perspective, that's really important in some more of these content informational type websites.
Cool, fantastic. And there's a couple of questions about Monster Insights and GA4. So this one covers it pretty well, actually. Do we need to have GA4 installed to use Monster Insights?
No, that's the best part, right? So when you go and set up Monster Insights, what we'll do is it actually asks you to log in with your Google Analytics account, and it'll just create everything for you. So we'll set up all the tracking. We'll set up some of those custom dimensions if you're a pro user to get some really insights and analytics. But the answer is no. And in fact, if you are including the Google tag and using Monster Insights, we'll actually tell you, hey, double track, like don't do this. This is bad. So no, we actually handle all that setup for you. So as long as you have a Google Analytics account, we'll actually embed all of the tagging, all of the tracking for you automatically.
And Bill asks, can Monster Insights help identify GA4 setup suggestions or errors in setups?
Thankfully, there's not a lot, right? So if you're using Monster Insights, we pretty much set up everything properly. So that's why we have a lot of our integrations for a lot of the most common softwares. So WooCommerce, Easy Digital Downloads, MemberPress, WP Forms, even Gravity Form. Like we've integrated with a lot of the main big kind of software plugins inside the WordPress ecosystem so that we configure all these options for you. If something's still not working right, if something still looks funky, again, we're happy to help and kind of dig in and see. Generally, it's because of some custom script somewhere that a plugin might be using, or just double tracking, which can obviously double your numbers and make it look a little weird. But yeah, if you're using Monster Insights, we typically will configure everything for you, so there's not a need to necessarily troubleshoot.
Cool, awesome. And Carol's asked a really good question here as well. If we are using Monster Insights, does the platform ever look at our data and give us advice?
Yes, so I didn't go into this feature. We actually have this thing called Conversations AI. And so what this does is it will actually, you don't even have to be a wizard with charting. You can literally ask it questions inside WordPress and get insights out of it. We also have an insights feature, which will look at your traffic, look at your sales, look at your conversions, just give a couple quick insights really briefly. So yes, there's some power in that. There's a lot of cool stuff coming. But yeah, we definitely know that insights are really important to users, and so we make it nice and easy as possible.
Yeah, and with the conversation AI, I've used that a bit as well, and I find it really helpful because it's basically just like any kind of chat bot situation, and you just ask a bunch of questions and it'll bring you the data, and it's accurate as well. So it's not, it's not pulling from anywhere else. It's just basically looking at your data for your website and giving you the insights, just like I would imagine an analyst would do if you were paying an analyst to do it, so you've got it there built into your WordPress dashboard. You don't have to pick up the phone or, like message anyone about something. It's right there inside it.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. And Helen asked a really good question. With regards to reports data in Monster Insights, obviously we mentioned there's a free version and there's the paid version. What do you get with the free version, and then what's the advantage of using the paid version over that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so our light version is going to be that base tracking. So you see your pages, you'll see your sessions. Beyond that, the device breakdowns, the publish, all those reports and everything else, those are going to be behind the pro version and the plus version. So when you upgrade to our plus version, you get access to essentially all the publisher reports, all the the media reports, a whole bunch of other little features to make everyone's life a lot easier. And then our Pro plan is going to enable you to do the true e-commerce tracking, right? That's where we start integrating with the WooCommerces of the world. Forms tracking is in there as well, and a whole bunch of additional features like custom dimensions, which I didn't touch on. So to answer your question, the light version is it gives you the really basics, but to do any true analysis and really see what's happening in your website, you should definitely go to Pro. That's where the kind of secret sauce is for sure.
Cool. Yeah. And Nick's asked a question. So hopefully, Nick, I mean, you would have seen in the comparison that Zach did, but what are the benefits, Zach, do you think of or like one of the main benefits of using Monster Insights over GA4 when GA4 shows all the information on there?
Yeah, so there's a couple different reasons. So for me, for Monster Insights, it's both the reporting piece, but also the setup piece, right? So with Monster Insights, I already know that the data going into GA4 is going to be accurate, and I get a whole bunch of extra insights and cool things out of that, where I don't have to hire a developer to maintain and create and update throughout time. So that's one piece of why I would use Monster Insights. Number two is we put everything in GA4. So if you are a power user, if you want to dig in, go into the nitty gritty and start pivoting down and getting really deep, we put all that information there for you so you can do that. A lot of our users, though, they just want to be able to log in their dashboard, get a quick insight, and leave. They don't want to have to learn interface. They don't want to have to learn what dimensions and metrics are and segments are, right? So there's definitely a lot of different use cases. For me, even as a performance marketer, I'll go between both, right? I'll look at Monster Insights, get a pulse of what's happening on my website. If something looks like really weird, I want to dig in further, then I'll bounce over to GA4 and do the deep dive data analysis. So I think it's kind of those two factors, right? It's getting it set up, but then also the flexibility to navigate and get the insights you want to. And this, a lot of people, again, dimensions and metrics. A lot of people just they hear that and it's going back to school. It can be complicated pretty quick.
Yeah, and I think Monster Insights offers just that easier on-ramp onboarding to understanding analytics, right? Instead of being bombarded with the Google Analytics dashboard, which can be quite confusing. So it's like the way that you've put it is you're better to start there anyway in Monster Insights. Just take a look, and then if you want to, as you progress and as you get more confident in things, you can then obviously, like a experienced marketer like yourself can dive into GA4 and understand things. Yeah, cool. And Andre asked a pretty good question. And what kind of training comes with Monster Insights when purchased? Because there's a lot of info available in GA4. So is there anything that you guys can put together for that?
Yeah, so we have a huge knowledge base full of information. It's not necessarily focused on GA4 training, right? Because again, a lot of people, they don't want to learn GA4. So there's a lot of good resources and tutorials all across the web. YouTube is a really good source for a lot of GA4 specific tutorials. In terms of how to use Monster Insights, we have a great knowledge base. We have a lot of videos. We do step-by-step instructions. So it's all really, and again, that's all just for Monster Insights, how to navigate and use the product and get insights out of that way. But yeah, for GA4 specific training, I would just check out other stuff on the internet. It goes into some of that really complicated stuff.
Yeah, no, and there are a lot of creators out there that are doing it as well. But yes, Monster Insights has got amazing knowledge base in terms of being able to take you from very basic beginner level to all the way through to kind of drilling in down into reports and things like that as well. Yeah, so that's really cool. And so how are you doing for time, Zach? Are you okay for time?
I'm okay. Yeah, I know we're a little past an hour, so I'm okay if you're okay.
Yeah, I'll get through these questions because I think they're really good as well. So Lucy's asked, this is quite specific. Sorry, I'll get my words out. How can I set up events in GA4, such as a material downloaded?
Yeah, so material downloads. We actually out of the box, Monster Insights actually will do download tracking for you. It's actually included as part of our light version or free version. If you want to create specific other types of custom events, this is where the developers have to come in, right? And so they have to go in and tag the website. We do have a couple snippets you can use to do that. So maybe you want to have it on a specific button click or maybe a specific form element or something of that nature. So we do have some snippets that will support that, but it is going to be custom coding. But to answer your overall question on the download tracking, that is actually something we include for free on Monster Insights Lite.
Fantastic. And American again asked, what if you already set up GA4 and really unsure you did it properly? Will Monster Insights still handle the GA4 even if we set it up improperly?
Yeah. So what I would recommend doing is install Monster Insights, and then use your pro version, of course, and then we can take a look at it and see if there's anything funky with it, or if there's something that's in particular you're concerned with. Out of the box, Monster Insights will set up everything properly. So if you have any custom logic or anything custom beforehand, you might need to remove that. Again, getting very specific, I don't know the details. But say you just have a default website, you install Monster Insights, it will set up everything properly for you. So if you have any customizations beyond that, that is where it could get a little tricky. But that's what I recommend. Kind of start fresh and use MI from the start.
Cool. And Rayaz said, can I get exclusive report of one special page and take the report out to Google Sheets automatically? So is there a connection there that you can do?
So there's yes, out of Monster Insights. No, that's actually a great idea. So thanks for that idea. I'll take that one. That's a great idea. So what you can do, again, this is much more power user-y. There actually is in Google Sheets a connector for Google Analytics. So what you can do is set up a custom report inside Google Analytics. You can put in, you can customize essentially that pivot table report. You can customize what kind of fields come in there. So you could use a filter for that specific page to include it or exclude it that way. Inside Monster Insights, just from a UI perspective, we do have a filter box on those page reports. So you can type in your specific page and it'll just filter that out. And then you could download it and play with it that way if you needed to.
Cool. Awesome. I love that it gives you ideas doing
Yeah,
this
workshop.
Yeah. And Janet asked, is there a builder or theme Monster Insights works best with, or with the least number of conflicts?
We pretty much work with everything. Yeah. So no, we don't have a preference. It should all hopefully work out of the box. There shouldn't be any issues.
Cool. Okay, so that's the QA column that I've been through. So I'm just going to take a look to see if anyone's dropped anything in the chat a little bit way up. Amido asked, does Monster Insights impact site performance in any way or conflict with other plugins? I mean, the plugin conflict kind of thing is dependent on plugins, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, can you answer the first part of that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we essentially inject the Google tag, which loads asynchronously. So you shouldn't see too much of an impact or any impact on your website. We also have, again, this is for very specific niche cases. We have a performance add-on piece within the Monster Insights Pro plan. And if you're really concerned about site speed, we actually have the option to let you host your GTAG files locally. And you can also set up sampling. So maybe you don't want to have all your traffic hitting for very popular websites. But if you're really, really, truly worried about kind of those third-party resources, you can choose to host it locally. But no, we don't slow down anything on your website. We only load, the reporting and everything else when you're inside your WP admin dashboard. So users shouldn't see any slowness from Monster Insights.
All right, cool, Zach. Thanks. And Helen said, my website is a blog with posts, articles, and not really monetized at this point, except for voluntary donations. And this is probably very similar to the answer that you gave. But what reports would be valuable to me?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I hit the nail on the head there. So I think it's the engagement pieces, it's the landing pages, seeing what people are going to. You did mention tracking donations. So to me, that would be something definitely want to track. So I don't know what platform or plugin you're integrating with, but there's a good chance Monster Insights will integrate with it. So GiveWP and Charitable, those are two of the big popular plugins that we actually do automatically integrate with. So you can see donations through your analytics.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. And Robert asks, when adding new landing pages, etc., does Monster Insights need to reconfigure automatically or manually?
Everything is done for you automatically. So you create a new landing page, and that's actually by the Google side, right? So Google says a landing page is the first in that session. They're saying this is the first page that's there. So when you roll out a new piece of content, it's not actually on the Monster Insights end. It's Google Analytics saying, hey, this is the landing page dimension. But yeah, nothing to configure, nothing to tweak, nothing to change. It's all handled automatically.
Cool. And I think the last one, Carol asked a question basically. Can you search for your keywords in Monster Insights?
Keywords. So we have a Search Console report.
Yeah.
So that would show you the keywords that people are coming in from Google search into your
Yeah.
website. Now, in terms of like a keyword search report, I don't know if that's maybe what you're leaning towards. We don't have that.
Yeah.
That is something again that will be coming. But for search keywords specifically, like on search bars on the websites, no, we don't have anything built into Monster Insights for that.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Fantastic. And Riaz asks, just got that question in. How do I take website performance on Google Search Console, and can I do XML mapping? I'm not sure that's going to cover.
I'm not sure I understand the question, honestly. We can dig in later. But so
Yeah.
on the Search Console piece, on the Search Console piece in Monster Insights, we give you search keywords, clicks, impressions, and average position. Within the Search Console itself, there's a lot more insights and whatnot you can export out of there. We're just making that connection so you don't have to jump into Search Console if you don't want. In terms of the XML and everything else, I don't know, unfortunately.
So this is a really good point as well. Like people can reach out to you guys in the team and stuff like that if they have a question, or like even if you're like pre-sales, or even if you've got light version and stuff like that. It's important to know that you do have a team there that
Yes.
are there. And if you've got specific use cases, that we haven't covered in this workshop, because this workshop's a bit more focused on the beginner end, getting to know Google Analytics and being confident with it. But if you have got specific use cases, then reach out to Zach and the team. And like, Zach, what's the best way that they can do that with you guys?
Yeah, just come on over to monsterinsights.com. We have links there to reach out, get help. And then if you're light users, we're very active on WordPress.org forums, so feel free to ask your questions there. We're happy to help out. And then our pro users can just log into their account and send a message really quickly over to our support team. So we're here to help. That's what we're here for, is making analytics easy and powerful.
That's cool. Megan's got one last question, so we're going to take one last question and then we're going to wrap it up. When putting Monster Insights on your website, does it include other plugins?
When you go through Monster Insights, no. So what we do is we have promotions and whatnot. So when you're going through the onboarding experience, when you set up for the first time, we'll make some recommendations, some other tools that are in there. So Monster Insights, for example, we also have a product called User Feedback. And so we'll recommend installing that. So Monster Insights is all your quantitative data. User feedback will be your qualitative data. And then we'll also say like, hey, do you have WordPress forms on there, that type of thing. But no, you don't. We just install Monster Insights. During the onboarding piece, you can uncheck things that you don't want to be installed. Yeah.
Cool, Zach. Well, I'm going to wrap this up now. So thank you so much, Zach, for doing that workshop. It's been really insightful, and just answering the questions in the Q&A there. I know people have got a lot of value from that, and your experience, in understanding all this as well. Like I say, people can contact the Monster Insights team. You can rewatch this video. It will be available on YouTube tomorrow. There will be a replay link sent out to everyone as well. We have got more workshops coming up in the next month and so, but we do have a whole back catalog of workshops as well. So if you want to check them out after you've finished watching this, if you've got the time, go check them out on our YouTube channel. The link for that will be in the chat in a minute. But I just want to say a massive thank you to Zach, and hopefully, Zach, we can get you on again in the future, and we'll talk about more about analytics and helping people out with their sites. So I hope everyone's had a great time and enjoyed this workshop, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next workshop next month. So thanks, everyone. And
thanks, everyone.
See you soon.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.